There's a unique heaviness, sometimes subtle, sometimes overwhelming, that presses quietly within our minds. For so many, the start of the day begins before the sun rises, not because of an alarm or a bustling household, but because of racing thoughts that greet us even before our eyes open. Our minds, vast and mysterious, naturally drift to memories, to lists of obligations, to regrets not yet healed and hopes not fully surrendered. Some mornings, perhaps, you wake up already wrestling with the weight of yesterday, or with concerns about the future. The mind, ever active, replays conversations, stirs up possibilities, many of them darker than reality might ever become. There is a relentless nature to our thinking. Even as you brush your teeth, as your hands go through motion, the thoughts beneath the surface can be pulling at your peace, nudging at wounds you've tried to leave behind. Picture the mind, not as a machine but as a field, rich with potential but also susceptible to weeds. It is easy, especially when the world grows silent, to notice just how unruly the landscape can become when left uncultivated. Sometimes our thoughts build narratives about ourselves and about others that may never be spoken, but shape every decision we make. Sometimes you notice patterns, an expectation that things will unravel, a recurring question about your worth, or a quiet feeling that joy is always just out of reach. If you look closely, you might see that your internal world is populated by hundreds of unseen battles a day, choices between giving into worry or leaning into trust, between letting memories dictate your worth or believing in a truth that speaks beyond your history. The mind is not merely neutral ground. It is the primary theater upon which our spiritual and emotional wars are waged. You may not always be aware of it, but the direction of your thinking is forming your character and coloring your view of God. Every thought is like a seed. Some sprout quickly, producing anxiety, impatience, or self-doubt. Others, when nourished by grace and truth, give rise to hope, courage, and peace. Throughout the day, your mind is assaulted by outside voices, the unending news cycle, the expectations of family and co-workers, advertisements promising happiness for a price, social media with its silent comparison games. Yet, the loudest voice is often the one inside your own head, the persistent whisper of inadequacy, or at times the gentle reminder that you are seen and valued. It is tempting to believe that these thoughts are simply who you are. After all, if I think it, it must be me. But what if not every thought is deserving of space in your mind? What if you are not the sum of your intrusive feelings or wandering anxieties? There is a silent power in becoming attentive to your thought life, in learning to discern the stories playing in the background, many of which may have been planted there by experiences long past. This inner realm is not purely psychological, it is deeply spiritual. In moments of honesty, you may realize that the battles of your life are rarely just about other people, circumstances, or luck. They are about the beliefs that take root in your thinking. I am unworthy. It's hopeless. God has forgotten me. These are not just passing impressions. They can be strongholds fortified by repetition, quietly dictating your actions and reactions. Yet there is a radiance at the heart of the struggle, a promise that your mind is not meant to be a prison. The divine invitation is not to ignore these battles, but to step into them with new weapons, with perspective rooted in something unshakable. For every lie that surfaces, there is a deeper voice and a surer truth, echoing through scripture, through prayer, through quiet moments of surrender. You are more than your wandering thoughts. Imagine for a moment shifting the terrain of your thinking. You notice the undirected traffic of worries, judgments, and automatic responses, and instead of letting them multiply unchecked, you stop. You breathe. You choose to interrogate them, not with scorn or denial, but with curiosity. Does this thought lead me to hope or to fear? Does it look like something spoken from gentleness and love, or is it rooted in shame and anxiety? Sometimes all it takes is a pause, a deliberate setting of the mind on what is true, what is noble, what builds rather than destroys. You begin to notice when old narratives surface, and instead of letting them shape you, you quietly give them back to God. You admit, I've believed this for so long. Will you show me a new way? Transformation is always gradual. It is crafted through hundreds of unseen decisions to not let fear become your mentor, nor anxiety your guide. It is the work of listening to a better word, of staying present to the discomfort of unlearning and relearning, of choosing faith over familiarity, even when the old patterns feel more natural. The inner battlefield is held not by brute force, but by openness, a willingness to let grace move in where shame has reigned, to allow light to touch corners of the mind that have only known the language of criticism. You pray not as a last resort, but as a means of aligning yourself with a perspective that brings rest. Lord, shape my mind, you might whisper, perhaps for the first time, or perhaps after years of struggling to change with willpower alone. You offer him not just the obvious fears, but also the subtle ones. The way you interpret silence as rejection, the way you brace for disappointment even as you hope. Over time, prayer becomes less a task and more a refuge, a space to lay down your need for control, your compulsion to rehearse worst-case scenarios, your attachment to every thought that crosses your awareness. Prayer is no longer about only asking, but about welcoming presence. You discover that God's nearness is not contingent on your clarity, but in your honesty. As you practice this, your mind becomes a place less cluttered with noise, more receptive to peace. Those moments of spiraling worry become invitations to stop and remember. I do not have to live at the mercy of every thought. I can choose to believe the best. I can receive the quiet assurance that I am never alone. You learn to sense the difference between the voice of Jesus, always leading you with tenderness, with truth that brings conviction, but never condemnation, and the voices of old fears, habits, or wounds that can never speak the language of hope. Gradually, you find yourself realigning your thinking, letting go of the reflex to criticize or catastrophize, and instead speaking blessing over yourself and over others. The journey is not without setback. There will be days when the internal battle feels overwhelming, when the old patterns shout more loudly than the new, but in those moments, you remember that spiritual victory is not measured by the absence of struggle, but by an increasing capacity to rest in God's love, to take each thought as it comes and place it willingly into hands stronger than your own. As the mind quiets, truth grows. You discover the freedom of taking captive every thought and making it obedient, not by force but by faith. You meditate on promises rather than impossibilities. You filter every criticism, every assumption, every temptation through the question, does this reflect the kingdom, or does it reflect my fears? And in the quiet, you realize that God's desire for your mind is not simply order, but liberty. The liberty to imagine, to dream, to set your hope ahead without fear of disappointment. Even when pain or confusion lingers, you experience a peace that transcends explanation, a gentleness that meets you where anxiety once dominated. This ongoing inward transformation builds resilience. You find yourself responding with patience where impulsiveness once ruled, with forgiveness where bitterness once thrived, with expectation where resignation was the default. Your thought life, once a battleground of negative cycles, becomes a garden cultivated by gratitude, faith, and holy imagination. Throughout your daily journey, you come to see every challenge as both a trial and an opportunity, a chance to let truth speak louder than circumstance. You discipline your mind not with harshness, but with understanding. You remember that each thought you nurture is shaping the landscape of your soul, is setting the direction for your day, your relationships, your hope. The people around you may notice a difference. Your presence carries a new steadiness, not from pretending all is well, but from a deep sense that even in uncertainty, there is security. You learn to be the same person in public as you are in private, your internal world in harmony with your outward expression. As you continue this work layer by layer, your mind becomes a vessel for divine creativity. You begin to imagine new possibilities, to set your hope on what God can do, to believe for restoration in places you thought would forever remain broken. The stories of shame begin to unravel, replaced not just by optimism, but by faith rooted in something greater than yourself. Eventually, you discover even your struggles become teachers. The ache of waiting forms patience. The sting of disappointment shapes compassion. You learn that surrender is not giving up, but giving over. that the narration of your thoughts is safest when it echoes the wisdom and gentleness of Christ. And today, if your mind feels weary, if you are tired of fighting unseen battles, if you have grown used to spirals of negativity or defeat, let this be your turning point, a sacred pause to breathe, to ask for help, to surrender the inner narrative to one who understands and cares. There is power in humility, in letting the defenses drop and simply admitting, "I need you, God, I cannot beautify this landscape on my own." There you will find that grace is not rationed. There is enough for every tangled thought, every wavering feeling, every doubt that keeps you up at night. In this space of vulnerability, you will discover that you are not judged for having a messy mind. You are met with kindness. The gentle hand of the Creator is present, not only to correct, but to comfort, to lift the heavy burdens, to restore what anxiety has worn down, to heal what fear has broken. So even now, let your mind become a sanctuary. Let every stray thought become an offering, every moment of awareness an open door for grace to enter. Trust the slow, steady work of renewal, knowing that the one who began this work in you is faithful to complete it. May each day become a renewable invitation to think with hope, to see with the eyes of faith, and to rest with confidence in the love that covers every failure and extends to every corner of your mind. And now, in this spirit, let us offer a prayer for our thought life, a new prayer, rooted not in repetition but in the honest cry of the heart. God of mercy, creator of my being, you see beneath the surface. You know my unspoken worries, the looping doubts, the regrets that echo, and the secret hopes I barely allow myself to dream. Before I voice a single word, you understand the contents of my thoughts, both the ones I celebrate and the ones I would hide. Today, I come not with polished prayers or rehearsed answers, but with honest questions, silent weariness, and a longing for rest. I admit that my thoughts often run wild, crafting stories that leave me restless or afraid. There are times I hear again and again the old wounds, the harsh judgments, the whispered fears that I am not enough. But you, Lord, are patient. You do not recoil from my mess. You draw near when I am anxious. You do not shame me when I confess confusion. I thank you for this kindness, a grace that gives room for sorrow and invites healing in the very places I feel weakest. I bring you my mind, all of it, the crowded spaces of doubt, the hidden libraries of painful memories, the dreams I keep on a high shelf, the places still locked by disappointment. I surrender to you every stubborn pattern, every expectation that runs contrary to your love. Where I have allowed fear to construct barriers, where shame has distorted my self-image, where cynicism has darkened hope, I ask you to tear these down gently and surely. Let your truth filter through the cracks. Let your light dispel the shadows I have become accustomed to. I give you the relentless urge to figure life out, the need to understand before I trust. I lay at your feet the instinct to control, to predict, to worry, to brace for pain. I admit that releasing these habits feels risky, yet I choose now to make space for your promises, to let your presence rewrite the way I see myself and the world. When bitterness creeps in, teach me to forgive as I have been forgiven. When anxiety builds, still my soul and anchor me in your peace, peace that is not dependent on circumstance. When pride rises, remind me gladly of humility, of how you valued me enough to love even at my most unworthy. When disappointment threatens my optimism, help me to hope again. Teach me to interpret every experience not through the lens of fear, but through your wisdom, a wisdom that sees beyond my failures to the possibility of redemption. Holy Spirit, come into the clutter. Help me pause before I accept every thought as fact. Shape, prune, and refresh the landscape of my mind so that negativity loses its footing and your word finds welcome. Whisper to me in the quiet. Protect me from the traps of comparison and despair. May my thoughts become gentle rivers, flowing in the direction of kindness, understanding, and grace. Turn my attention continually to your faithfulness so that gratitude becomes my default and fear is left to wither from neglect. I pray not just for myself, but also for those who carry secret battles, for my friends, for my family, for the stranger who appears confident but whose mind is weary from struggle. Let your love interrupt cycles of self-criticism and deliver each one from the bondage of hidden pain. Let the renewing of my mind become a rhythm, not a rare event. May I learn to guard my heart by first tending to my thought life, choosing to acknowledge the voices I permit to stay, and courageous enough to release those that speak only discouragement. Let every ambition, every creative spark, every solution I dream up be filtered through your goodness. Give me discernment to know which voices align with your truth and which are simply echoes of my past fears. When I feel overwhelmed by noise, guide me back to simplicity, the quiet place where your peace restores me, where I am reminded that I am your beloved, seen and understood. I trust you, Lord, with the thoughts I cannot organize, with the questions I do not have answers to, with the mysteries and disappointments I carry. Where clarity eludes me, grant me patience to wait in the unknown, to believe that even uncertainty can be sacred ground. Grant me humility to admit my limitations without shame, and boldness to pursue healing when my thoughts grow heavy or dark. Remove from me the habit of walking alone. Instill in me a new confidence to ask for prayer, to seek counsel, to trust that even in the mess, you are present and active. As I wake each day, may your word become the first lens through which I see, the standard by which every thought, idea, and reaction is measured. Help me filter my perception of others, of myself, of you, through the kindness and mercy you continually extend to me. Strengthen my resolve so that I do not merely speak of faith, but live it out from the inside, so that my mind becomes a reflection of your trustworthiness, steady and sound, no matter the inner weather. In my weakness, be my strength. When I am uncertain, be my foundation. Where my thoughts wander far, shepherd me back with gentleness. Make my mind a place where hope lives, where peace reigns, where love is not an occasional guest, but a resident. For every silent battle I fight, thank you for your unwavering companionship, for being the patient teacher, the binding force when I am fragmented, the healer of wounds I have not yet found words to describe. Today I declare it not only with my lips, but with my intention. You are Lord of my thought life, the guardian of my mind. May the inner world I cultivate reflect the grace I have received and the faith I profess. May I think as one redeemed. May I love as one loved. May I rest as one whose security is already anchored in you. In your name I offer every part of myself, trusting that in your embrace my mind is safe, my life is sheltered, and my peace secure. Amen.